Your goal is to get the team back. You want that collaboration, that innovation, that buzz, that energy that you can only do surrounded by people. Then it's extremely important for you to do this right. And again, no matter how you do it, you might lose some of your best people. So you have to decide, is it okay? And that's a normal sacrifice that you're willing to make? Or are you going to make exceptions for your top 1 or 5%? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. Today, I'm going to be doing a solo session on an article actually that's going to be published in Forbes Tech Council tomorrow. So look out for that. And the article is about redefining the office and navigating the kind of delicate dance of teams coming back to the office. I've been in the business for 16 years, hiring for hundreds of tech companies. And, we've seen a massive change in the office landscape. For 10 years of my career, it was all about in-office. Even innovative tech companies, you would say 90% of them, their core teams were in-office environments, 90 to 95%. Then 2020 happened. The COVID situation happened, and it became almost taboo to have an office. It was almost like, wow, I'm so sorry. Your company requires you to be in an office, and all offices were shut down. Most states actually made you shut down your offices, and there's a lot of nervousness around it. And then what you saw was companies quickly evolved and made that the norm. And people spoke of how productive it was, so on and so forth. Lots of studies done in both directions. On one direction, employees really pushed for continued work from home. They almost demanded that we would never come back. And then companies started realizing in certain companies that productivity was down. So the new norm now is hybrid. And that sounds reasonable, right? We're meeting in the middle. I applaud that. I think balance is what it's about. There's one problem with that. A lot of people moved out of state. People moved out of the areas. They either moved to the suburbs in the cities they lived in. So if you lived in Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Seattle, New York, Austin, you moved out to the suburbs. A little bit further away, less craziness, less cost of living. That's a little easier to crawl people back. Others just plain out moved out of state. So people realize, oh man, I could earn the same amount of money, possibly more, possibly a little bit less, but I get to live in a more quiet, more relaxed lifestyle in a much cheaper environment. Then I'm going to go ahead and do that. So it's a real challenge, right? So companies that really, really want to get their teams back, and I would say it's about probably, to my sense, is 60 to 70% of the companies are trying to get their teams back in the office, right? So I guess the question that I'm going to be solving here is, how can we seamlessly and gracefully bring our teams back to the offices? It's a very delicate dance. If you do it wrong, you can kill your culture and you could lose a lot of great employees. If you do it right, hopefully you'll accomplish your goals of why you're even doing that. So let's actually talk about that. What's the why behind your need for your team to come back? You have to really think about that, right? This is very fundamental. You have to think about, like, why do we want our teams back in the office? Is it because you missed a collaboration that's ignited by face-to-face contact? Do you believe that proximity fuels innovation? Do you, just miss the energy? Or frankly, if we could be honest, have you seen productivity down because of the remote model? And you have to compare apples to apples, right? Because if the market has changed due to the recession, and you're comparing that to the crazy kind of growth that we were feeling in 2021, 22, you're not really comparing apples to apples. But frankly, if you feel that productivity is down, which is very, very possible, one of two things: you're right. People are not able to properly do their jobs remotely, or frankly, you have the wrong people, right? Because the right people typically will work no matter where they're at, whether you're watching them or not, whether they're remote or in office. But there's definitely some setbacks when it comes to people working from home. Let's be honest, and it depends on the job. There's certain jobs, like if you're a software engineer, why do I need to see you every single day? Go write code. That's your input. That's your output. And depending on the quality of your code, either it works or doesn't. Certain jobs, it doesn't work that way, right? And more people driven jobs where I have to work with different stakeholders. I have to have more interaction with my colleagues, more meetings, more innovation. That requires, I think, a little more in office. Before you just think about just why it's good for you, let's look at stuff from the lens of the employee. What are they losing, when they come back to the office? You got to think about that. There's a feeling of loss. Is it loss of control? It's loss of freedom. Is it more, accountability that they may or may not want? What is it that they're losing? And then what are they gaining in return, right? Is it social connections? Is it feeling of purpose? Is it professional development? Is it routine and structure? These are all very, very important things. Is it the creativity that you get from listening to other people and learning from other people and being next to them? Is it access to more resources and tools and people? Is it networking opportunities? What is it that they gain in return? Some people don't care about any of these things. Certain people just want to be at home, they want to do their job, they want to clock in, clock out, and they want to go about their business. And for those folks, you're not gonna convince them otherwise. And your job is not to convince them. Your job is to understand where these folks are coming from and what they lose and what do they gain from being in an office. And also, what do you provide, right? If you have a gloomy office, not a great culture, there's no fun, there's really no energy, then why are we bringing them back? What are they coming back to do? Is it a punishment? If it's a punishment, I think it's a terrible idea to bring back your team, right? If it's opportunities for, again, all these other things we talked about: professional development, collaboration, innovation, fun, right? An opportunity to separate work and home. All those things are extremely valuable. So make sure you understand what they're losing and educate them on what they're gaining in return, especially those folks that care about the growth and opportunities and the human connection and all those things. So it's very important. So again, perceiving, understanding, and perceive, your employees and what they perceive they're losing, and how to address that perspective shift is extremely important. Another thing I want you to understand is along the way, as you've gone remote, some of your top 5%ers have now changed their lifestyle. They've moved out of state, they've moved out of the city, or frankly, just don't want to come back. Their lives have changed and realize that this is the way for them. And you have to be okay. You have to be okay with potentially losing them. Because if your decision is for the greater good of the company, this is my strategy, this is what I'm going to do, then you have to be okay sacrificing some of those things, right? You can't just make one by one decisions because you like this person, you don't like this person's important. It's not. If you as a company, and this is happening, need to cut cost or completely get rid of some of your employees, 10%, 20%, whatever, and you've chosen this as a strategy, it's very different, right? Everyone that doesn't want to come back to the office obviously is going to face a layoff. But if that's not your goal is to get the team back. You want that collaboration, that innovation, that buzz, that energy that you can only do surrounded by people, then it's extremely important for you to do this right. And again, no matter how you do it, you might lose some of your best people. So you have to decide, is it okay? And that's a normal sacrifice that you're willing to make. Or are you going to make exceptions for your top 1 or 5%? And just know that there is consequences with both decisions, with either decision. So if you decide, I don't care, everybody in or everybody out, then there's a risk of losing some great people. Whether it's right away or later, I don't know, but this is something for you to think about. And if you decide that you're going to make exceptions, then there's going to be some consequences of that as well. It might be obvious to you why you're willing to do it. For the rest of your staff, it might not be so obvious. So you have to be really smart about that. In fact, it's really interesting that companies are working so hard on getting their teams back, because I just read an article that said that 76% of companies are planning on reducing their office space. I thought that was very interesting, considering I would say 76% of companies are also trying to get their teams back. in some form of hybrid work. I was 1 day a week, 2 days a week. Now I'm seeing 3, 4, and 5. 5 days a week in office is not the norm, but it's getting there. I think the normal norm is 3 days a week. So that's very important for you to understand. What does that look like? Is it 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or is it full on 5 days a week with no flexibility? Is it really 9 to 6 in an office, 5 days a week? You've got to make a decision. You got to go with it. There's a saying: it's okay to be right or wrong, but it's not okay to be in doubt. So if you go about it in a kind of a scared, a place of fear or place of I don't know, revenge or punishment, then it's going to go the wrong way. If you treat it the right way, which is, why are you doing this? And once you decide you're decided and you're okay with the consequences, that's the right way to go. So let's talk about the art of slow rollout and what that looks like. Set your vision, set your goal. So in this case, let's say you say, I want 3 days a week in office. Wonderful. That's your decision. Great. What days will people be coming in 3 days a week? The other 2 days, is it flexible? Or is it everybody? So meaning, does everybody work from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Does everybody work from home Mondays and Fridays? Or is it people get to choose 2 days a week, 1 day a week, 3 days a week from home, whenever they decide or whenever they do it? And then you've got to decide, is it scheduled or is it random? Meaning, do I get to just get up out of bed and decide today I'm going to go to the office or I'm going to work from home? Or is it, no, Avetis, you told us that you will be working from home on every Wednesday for whatever reason? You have to be decisive about these details. The devil is in the details. You have to really, really understand what you're doing, and you have to have thought through it properly to be able to even understand why it's that way. Why is it that every Tuesday and Thursday people get to work from home and that's the standard? Why is it that everyone has to come in on Monday? Why is it that no one gets to work from home a day after the holidays? I don't know. Whatever you decide, there's no right and wrong. It's just you have to decide and you have to run with that decision. Very, very important. So let's talk about the art of slow rollout. What I'm trying to address here is, if you've made this decision, unless you have decided that it's a strategy to eliminate your certain percent of your staff or all of your remote staff, it's very, very important for you to do it in a harmonious way, right? So if some of your employees have moved out of state, or they haven't moved out of state, it doesn't matter. Their lives have changed. You've got to give them a little bit of time to decide, to figure things out, to come back to the office. So for me, for example, after COVID, we gave about a 60-day window of time. We announced that starting October 1st, whatever it was, September, October, I don't really remember, we expected the staff to come back in the office 1 day a week. But we were very transparent. In November, we expect 2 days a week. In December, 3 days a week, so on and so forth. And the reason we did that is because people needed to figure out their lifestyles. Whether that's, hey, I've got 60 days to move back in, or 60 days to look for another job. Or I'm here, but things have changed. I've gotten rid of my babysitter. Now I watch my own kids. I got rid of the dog sitter. I take my kids to school every day. You've got to figure those things out. Your employees have to figure that thing out. They're humans. They have families. They have lives. So it's very important to give them a little bit of time, but full transparency to where the company's headed so they can make the right decision for themselves. That's extremely important. So that's how we did it. And I can't say we didn't have bumps in the road. And I can't say that it didn't come with sacrifices on both sides, but I think it was done fairly well. And I think my team understood, and I think they were mostly bought in. And within a short period of time, they saw the energy. They enjoyed coming back to the office. They loved hanging out with their colleagues and getting away from home. I think that's extremely healthy, right? We forget all the time is like work from home, work from home. We focus so much on the comfort, but we forget comfort isn't always good, right? If it's all about comfort, then I'm comfortable sitting on my couch, watching TV, napping, eating snacks all day. It's not comfortable for me to wake up at 6 a.m., meditate, take my kids to school, go to the gym, come to the office, run around all over the place and come home at 7 p.m. exhausted. That's not comfortable. But is it comfort that we're looking for? Is it greatness we're looking for? Is it growth we're looking for? What is it? The employees themselves have to decide that as well. And the company has to decide kind of what's their brand, right? Are they the we provide a comfortable working environment, therefore that's our goal, or is it we don't want folks that are only interested in comfort? Uh, we want people that are all about growth and opportunities and learning and collaboration and innovation, all the things that the company stands for has resonate in your hiring decisions, right? And what I would say is, again, be decisive. And when you are hiring new employees, make sure you're very transparent about this. If you're interviewing people for a remote job and then you change the job in 60 days, it's not fair. They might have quit a job to join you. So you have to be really, really transparent. And you have to be overly transparent. You'd be surprised how people blindly apply to jobs. I mean, we've posted jobs that says in office 5 days a week. They still ask, hey, is this remote? Can this be remote? Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm in Philadelphia. Why did you apply for the job? Because it's not what people are doing, right? They're not really paying attention. Most often they're just blindly applying to jobs, or they know exactly what they're doing, and it's a potential they think it's an opportunity to negotiate. I am so good that you're going to want me so bad that I'm going to be able to negotiate work from home. To me, that's politics, and you can't allow it. You have to be decisive. Again, is work from home welcomed across the board? Then great. That's our brand. Or no, we're a full in office culture with some flexibility, and then that's your culture. But you have to decide. So again, art of slow rollout. It's not a science, it's an art. It's how you do it, when you do it, and you have to communicate really well on why it's important and what's coming down the pike. You got to give, again, I think going from 0 to 100% is very difficult for people. Give them a little bit of time to get back in the office and start seeing the value of being in the office, and also to take care of their life. There's things that need to be taken care of. They might need to move. They might need to get a new babysitter. They might need to change jobs. There's so many different factors. They might need to buy a car. I know people that completely sold their cars. They had 3 cars or 2 cars and they sold it. One of the spouses works from home. Why did she need a car? They got to figure all kinds of stuff. Is grandpa and grandpa going to pick up the kids now? What's going to happen? What's changing in their worlds, and you have to recognize it. You have to respect it. You have to give them the opportunity to fix that. Otherwise, they're going to be resentful, right? If you do it day one, starting tomorrow, 4 days a week in office, 5 days in week office, you're going to create a lot of resentment in your company, and you don't want that. Remember, this is not a power play. I hope it's not a power play. A lot of companies are using it as a power play, but our strategy from day one has been we're an office culture. We prefer people in office. During COVID, obviously, we had to be understanding, but the goal was always to get the team back in the office. Why? Because we like the collaboration. We like the energy. Our jobs require a lot of human interaction. And frankly, it's healthy. It's healthy for everybody to have to be around colleagues. Now we have remote staff, and that works to a point, but I think they miss out on a lot of opportunities as well. So, some closing thoughts. This episode was not necessarily designed to have all the answers for you, but to kind of make you think. Think about strategies. Think about what you want. Think about why you want those things, and think about how you're going to communicate these things. Done right, make bold decisions, stick to them, and it all work out one way or the other. If you're wishy-washy, not thought out, you're going to have a little bit of a cultural shift in a negative way, and a potential shit show. Remember, replacing your employees is extremely costly, both time-wise and financially. So make sure you're doing it right. Make sure you're thoughtful in your approach and communicate. I recommend full transparency, and I recommend doing it in time. Thank you so much for listening in. Hopefully this made you think. Hopefully you'll go check out my article. It goes out tomorrow on Forbes Council. And I look forward to your feedback. And thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. And that brings us to the end of another great episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. I want to thank you for joining us and hope you took away some valuable insights to apply in your professional journey. Don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform so you don't miss out on the next great conversation. I promise it'll be good. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps others discover the podcast. Better leaders mean better working environments. Better working environments leads to happier people. Remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm Avetis Antaplyan, and this has been the Tech Leaders Playbook. Keep leading, keep learning, keep giving, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, stay inspired, my friends.